This, I think, might be the craziest amp. One of them. I mean, I can't think of anything quite as stupid as this. In 2002, the Mesa Boogie Road King popped onto the scene. You all remember it, don't you? All your mates, they had a Road King. You'd go around their house and you say, "Oh, have you got the latest Road King?" And they'd say, "Yeah, I just spent £3,800 on this amp, which has more knobs than the local volleyball team." Anyway, so I've never played a rectifier until today, or actually yesterday when I played this for the first time. And I wanted to get to know what is a rectifier, and at the same time the Road King was an amp that I wanted when I was a little bit younger, because people like John Petrucci used one, and because it kind of looked cool, and it was like, well, that's a lot of stuff in one amp. So it's got, you know, 4 channels and all this stuff. So here's my first time using it. To me it seems like this is a rectifier designed by someone on a lot of meth.
We all remember it, don't we? March 2022. How you say that? 2022. When the great tube shortage, when people were going out, weren't they, and they were looting Mesa Boogie Road Kings, trying to get their next hit of Sovtech 6L6s. Right, so when I was young, I thought this might be a good idea. The Mesa Boogie Road King came out in about 2002. It had a run of about 15 years, and I think it has a good claim to being the craziest amp ever built. A special kind of crazy, but crazy nonetheless. So what essentially it is a 4-channel amp. Each of the channels has 3 different modes for the preamp, and then it has, you know, about 1 million different tube switching options. So at the back end of it, you've got all these options, so you can have a 2 6L6 power amp, 2 EL34 power amp, 4 6L6 power amp, or 4 6L6s and 2 EL34 power amp. It's you can switch between all of those on all of the different channels. Essentially, it's also a dual rectifier. That's kind of the basis of most of the circuits. I think this is a version 1. They did a version 2, and then they decided for whatever reason, you know, there's no reason to make an amp quite this heavy. So a rough kind of go through of some of the sounds. Channel 1. Can do kind of clean, and if we up the gain, can do other stuff as well. And on this you've got a clean setting, a fat setting, which is my favourite, a tweed setting which kind of has less bass. I'm not going to go through all of the settings all together, but you've got the same sort of thing going on in each channel. So channel 2 has clean, fat and British, I guess, bright. Or fat. The setting I've got at the moment is the 26L6 2EL34, so you're hearing a mixture of both of the tube kind of power amp complement. I can't go higher than that because I'm using a load box. Channel 3, I guess, is why I'm interested in this stuff. I've never played a rectifier even, so this is the first time actually playing a rectifier. So channel 3, we've got 3 different settings. We've got raw, vintage and modern. So raw sounds like that, vintage, and then modern. This modern has a bit kind of more tight lower end, and if we keep everything at 12, chuck the gain right the way up. Is vintage. There's like a subtle EQ difference between vintage and modern, and then raw. I guess that's kind of, you're probably not used to hearing a rectifier with a Strat, but you've got loads and loads of gain on here. If you turn the gain back a bit, you know, they're not the tones that I would identify as being rectifier, so I think actually a pretty versatile amp. And the rectifier in general, I think, may have a bit of been put into a pigeonhole, which is covered with tread plate and stuff, but I think there might have been an entire kind of world of rectifier tones which weren't the mainstream. And let me know if you've got kind of a favourite player who used a rectifier. I think mine might be Alan Holdsworth. Not something you'd necessarily identify as obviously a dual rectifier fan, but he definitely was for a while. But as I say, you can get, that's the gain kind of quarter of the way up. Could totally do some bluesy stuff with that. Gain halfway up on the 3rd channel. You know, a lot of gain considering we're using Strat pickups, low output Strat pickups, and then 3/4 of the way up. And then gain all the way up, which is probably not the sort of thing you actually do with this live, but and then I guess if you wanted to tame things a bit, you might increase the mids, take the treble and presence down a bit, and then for these higher gain tones, you know, you can get things that are starting to approach something a bit smoother. What we do, take the treble down. You can also hear there's like a fuzzy edge to these kind of gain tones, which is, I guess, that raw side of the... So yeah, that's channel 3. And then channel 4 is going to be the same kind of idea, but more. So I think if we up the gain all the way, vintage now. And then raw. So I would characterize it again something similar to the Orange Rockaverb, where it maybe sounds a bit different to how it feels to play it. Like it's quite an easy... It's really kind of easy to play these things. It's quite compressed, quite saggy. If we up the presence, we get a bit more. So, super versatile before you even get to the kind of stuff on the back side of the amp. I'll probably do more stuff with this amp as I go, but I wanted to just experiment with it and get kind of a first impression for what it's actually like to play a rectifier. And I think it can be a lot smoother than you might think in your head. To me, in my head, some of the rectifier tones that I think of are kind of brittle and kind of harsh, but there's kind of a lot of meat to a rectifier is what I'm finding out. And so yeah, it weighs 25 kilograms, so my back is saying no, and my body has written a check that my back just can't cash with this amp. They actually made a 2x12 combo of this as well, which weighs 44 kilograms, which is a little bit ill, isn't it? Anyway, so that's the Mesa Boogie Road King, a little demo there. My first time playing it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you have one of these? Do you still have one of these? Have you ever gigged one of these? Are they giggable? I think they're probably designed mostly for guys that were out on the road and needed something that could do all this channel switching stuff. I know John Petrucci was one of the guys that used one of these back in the day, alongside some of his Mark stuff, but I think Octavarium was Road King, I think. But yeah, at one point this would have totally been my dream amp. I think probably it's 15 years too late now, but a really, really interesting piece of gear, I think. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers. I mean, even the foot switch is the size of a skateboard. What were they thinking?